Well, the Browns just wrapped up practice here in Berea, day 7 of training camp, but of course the big news is the NFL did decide to appeal the 6-game suspension for Deshaun Watson issued by Sue L. Robinson a couple of days ago. They filed the appeal just as practice was wrapping up, Mary Kay. Deshaun Watson was still on the field doing footwork and throwing, appeared to find out the news shortly after that from the Browns' Vice President of Communications. So any surprise here that the NFL did this?
No, not really. I really felt that the NFL was going to appeal this ruling. They wanted him to be suspended for a year. They wouldn't settle for anything less than 12 games, and 6 just did not cut it with the NFL. Not surprising at all. We were waiting for this to happen. Didn't really know that it would happen while he was still out here on the practice field. We watched him come off, learn the news, still sign some autographs for members of the military that are out here. I saw him talking to some team officials and some, one person from the NFL Players Association before he went in, and it's not over yet. Now, Roger Goodell or his designee can basically do whatever they want with this suspension.
And of course, Ashley, as Mary Kay says, it's not over yet because whatever they decide to do, even then it's not over because we could be in for a court battle after.
Right. I mean, this all just feels so unfinished now, which is something we've talked about because like you said, Dan, if this appeal, goes on, the NFL changes the suspension, it is a possibility that Deshaun Watson's camp, the NFLPA, could take them to court. So it's definitely just, again, that's why I wrote that column after the initial decision. These things, it just feels totally far from over still.
Mary Kay, obviously, like you said, Roger Goodell or his designee sort of has the ability now to sort of do what they want. But how bold do you think they will get? Do you think they could still potentially go to that indefinite suspension or a year-long suspension?
I'm not sure if they'll go that far, Dan, because, that's a lot. I mean, that is more than obviously doubling this suspension. I'm not sure that they're going to go to that length, but they certainly didn't do this so they could get 2 more games. I don't think it's just going to turn out to be 8 or something like that. So I think we can reasonably expect the NFLPA to sue. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't issue some kind of a statement about that today. That's the next thing to happen.
And the NFLPA kind of through back channels had sort of threatened that if they went to a year, maybe this would end up in federal court. But Ashley, I think Mary Kay makes a solid point there that the NFL was probably trying to decide if we're only going to add 1 or 2 games, what's the point? But this feels like they want to go for more.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we were kind of debating on the podcast about what would be feasible, about what, could trigger a lawsuit at a certain point. So I think when you're going through this entire process, it's the first time going through this process, we've talked about the optics of it. Does it look like it's undercutting this new disciplinary system that they collectively bargained? And it's still kind of a long ways away for that to be seen, what it all looks like in the public eye. But I definitely think if you're going to put yourself out there and go after this, like Mary Kay's saying, it's going to be something more extensive than what we've seen with 6 games.
And anything to add here, Mary Kay, as far as information you have or what could be next?
Well, I think the thing to keep in mind is that if the NFLPA does sue and secures an injunction or whatever they need to do, there is a world in which Deshaun Watson could still be playing in the opener. And so, again, this thing, it's got a long way to go. There are many hurdles to be crossed. And the Browns right now are in complete limbo with who their quarterback is for at least, a good part of the season.
Okay, well, this, as Mary Kay said, this is a long ways to go. This is a developing story, so we will cover it all as it goes along at cleveland.com/Browns.